Hello hero, it's Luci Leanan back for another mini Marseille A to Z pick a card with the esoteric tombola, the psychic lucky dip. Today's word of choice will begin with the letter J, and we'll be doing a 5-card Viéville Marseille reading on whichever theme comes out of this hat, I suppose, envelope, random assortment of words. If you would like to contribute a word from K onwards in the comments, I'll absolutely take more to put in these little envelopes to make things a little bit more unexpected and to increase the chance of getting a reading on your end that is tailored to you. I'll take anything except profanities and proper nouns, so please do comment down below, and if you see a heart by your comment, I've already put it in the little envelopes for that pile. Like I say, any letter between K and Z is up for grabs. In fact, any letter, because I will probably go round the A to Z again, but just with a different deck. Comment down below if you know from my shop which decks I have and which you would like to see in like a version of this which is a mini something or other. Maybe we want to do it with Vertigo now that Sandman's out. I don't know, that was my thought anyway, but let me know what you'd like to see other than a Marseille. Okay, so the first thing to say is that I do need music to get me in the zone today because my neighbours are being very noisy, and the music that I've chosen is Toke. So we're beginning with the song Within the Sinister Void. Apologies if you don't like the band, but if you do, then I've just told you what they're called. No copyright infringement intended. Now, the reason I'm beginning with this one is because for my fellow belly dancers and just sexy dancers of any kind, this song, oh, it's so good. Hits the spot every time, man. This song is particularly good for that. And why am I tapping into that energy? Well, in terms of the crystals and objects that wanted to come out for all 3 piles, we have a very scorpionic 8th house kind of a vibe coming through today. So you may have a lot of Scorpio, or you may just be feeling that. But you can see that at one side of the table, we've got this very Marian, very innocent vibe, the self-care stone, the Mary, glows in the dark, I may add. But then at the other, we've got a serpentine, a scorpionic paperweight, which used to be my grandfather's. So apologies if you're very sensitive to the idea that that is an animal in resin. I'm hoping it's just the exoskeleton, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that was from my grandfather's house and it wanted to join in. So like I say, scorpionic stuff. Then we've got the serpentine stone, which is in combination with that. It's the Medusa archetype. It's the kind of sexy feminine avenger, or the person who has turned hypersexual to hypervengeancy. With these crystals in combo, I get a vibe of the Furies, or I hasten to say it on such a public platform where I could get all kinds of hate from Christians, but it's got like Whore of Babylon vibes as well. There's like the sacred Marian thing, which is creating benevolent, very kind of Kuan Yin energy, and then the flip side of it always in every female goddess is sexy, vengeancey, demonic, angry, right? Woman scorned kind of shit. And that is the scorpion, it is the snake. And indeed it is issues of kind of drawing boundaries, banishing, keeping parasites out. We've got labradorite as well as serpentine, and those two in combination are both about expelling energies. There's a big exorcism vibe. There's a big, this is the threshold of my home and thou shalt not come in kind of a feeling. They're also both very good at feeling better emotionally by drawing those boundaries, by being very persistent in not allowing certain influences into our lives. And with the temperance pendant joining in as well, that's something I'm picking up on. So I feel like this is a sexy time, it's an energetic time, it's an angry time. It's a time for saying enough of this shit, you are no longer allowed in my space. It's a very sort of deep blue Kali vibe, very thunderous. I don't know whether you're watching this in a thunderstorm or, yeah, just, yeah, within the sinister void energy. I'm loving it. There's also this like facet keeper, I call it, which is just, I think it's plastic, but it's something I put in my window to make rainbows go around my room, and I feel like whatever colours are needed for you right now, because colour magic is also in this kind of energy a lot of the time. It's in glamour, love witch type shit, if you've seen that movie. Whatever colour you see reflected or refracted in this the most, at the time where I'm speaking to you particularly, I want you to work with that colour, because it should produce rainbows if angled correctly. Or maybe just get one of yourself, get one for yourself, sorry, and see what it does to your room. But anyway, without further ado, the weight of the world is on this reading. We have switched songs already. I'm going to shuffle this Marseille deck. We're going to get our 3 piles, and there will be 6 readings to choose from, 3 of which are tarot, 3 of which are general channeled messages using some of the cards from whichever reading. If you pick a 1 in the tarot, you don't have to pick a 1 in the channeled card reading, etc. It's just, you know, to give you a few options. It's the way I work, because some people prefer tarot, some people prefer channeled. It's really dependent on who you are. So, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I'm going to speed this bit up actually, and we're going to make 3 piles. Alright gang, pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, I'll see you at your timestamp. Pile 1, I'm going to shuffle before I pick the word. This one definitely wants to join in. Bam, bam, bam. You want to as well, don't you? I can tell. Ooh, alright. Oh, we've got a leaper. Crikey. And this one. Anyone else? Yep. You want to clarify, do you? Alright. How on camera are you? Let's have a look. No, you're fine. You're in shot. Wicked. That's what we want. J is for this one. Journey. And this reading will be dealing with the 2nd house. Oh, no, I said the 2nd house, thanks. That's what happens when I'm sat all the way over here. Right, give it a minute, pile 1. I'm just going to meditate for a sec. You won't feel the cut. Alright, pile 1. I nearly said pile 2 then, because we've got this 2nd house influence. Starting on that, yes, it's values, as we saw in I is 4 as a reading, and we had it very related to the sort of Taurian vibe. But something else that 2nd house deals with is self-esteem. And I feel like this is kind of a love reading, but it could also be a self-love reading, right? We're either dealing with a connection or we're dealing with the acceptance of the self in order to make our way to a connection. And either way, we can say that this has been, and possibly will be, quite a journey. But let me talk you through it in case the possibly will be portion of that had you feeling a little bit in despair, right? Because the 2 with a moon card at the end of the reading can be a bit emotionally wild. It can be a bit kind of, oh fuck, I don't know what to do next. The song is blackened, and I feel like you may feel a bit sort of charred, a bit like you've come through a baptism of fire and you're not phoenixing yet, you're just all burnt out and burnt up, right? You feel like charcoal. I'm sorry, I'm laughing with you, not at you. I get the vibe, right? I've been there. So like I say, there's this moon card feeling very unstable at the sort of root and underground and outcome of your reading, a feeling of wildness, a feeling of sort of being isolated, being left to your own devices and having your own shadows and impulses perhaps take over. And then the clarifier for the entire thing is the Nine of Swords, which is worry about something, going over intellectualizations of things, catastrophizing, rumination, the aspects of, dare I say, depression that are to do with being stuck in the mental and thinking through things to a point where it's gone past its utility and into you're just going over and over this now and it's not useful for you or indeed anybody else concerned if this is more of a partnership love reading, right? But like I say, it could go either way. The rainbow over the reading, the promise of the future, the theme overarching, if you like, is the Ten of Cups, which is just whatever your idea of the white picket fence is. See my intro to the Your Future Spouse, What You Fucking Hate About Them reading to sort of get more of a definition of that. But for some it is marriage and babies, and for others it's very different indeed, right? We don't do compet on this channel, we don't do politically traditional on this channel necessarily. It's just whatever it means to you to be emotionally secure in a made family, a created tribe of some kind. And it's almost as if, even if this is a self-love journey, this is where you've set your sights on, but the reality of the undercurrent of what you've been feeling, and indeed something you feel most potently at night, is this kind of aloneness, this very shadowy, having to see by the light of the moon, feeling wild, full moon energy, right? You may feel a bit Jekyll and Hyde, a bit werewolf archetype, where like most of the time you're fine and then certain circumstances hit that trigger you off and all of a sudden you're sprouting hair and ripping out the throats of your loved ones, right? It's this sense of like being easily triggered but also just feeling out of control in some sense. I don't know how well it holds up, but certainly if you resonated with the Scorpionic and Serpentine stuff at the beginning, a reading of mine that you might want to check out, I think it was my first one, so bear in mind that it's extremely early double L content, is the Control and Surrender reading that I did pre-pandemic, right? And you might want to see where it is there that you can let go, more specifically than what you can control, because I think letting go is the secret ingredient of a lot of this stuff. But yeah, you've been feeling very wild. It's like the goals that you have for yourself, for your self-love, and also for your love with another person, your value systems around that with the two, are very, on paper, typical or like acceptable to everybody else's eye. I'm seeing the discrepancy between this multifaceted thing and then the sort of deep green heart chakra undertone crystals, this alligator feeling. See previous readings for what alligator is as well if you feel drawn, but yeah, there's this feeling that like on paper your goals with this are great, but the way that you're going about them feels, it's like this song, it's weak life, it's angry, it's over emotional, it's easily triggered, it's anxious, it's ruminating. It's like, why can't I get to this thing that is so accessible to people who perhaps even have done less emotional work than I have? And you're finding it really frustrating. And in the recent past, or indeed the present space, this has led to complete pessimism, a loss of belief in the magical perhaps, in which case, like, thank you for coming to a reading like this and just sort of holding on for me and trying it out. Seeing whether you can believe or have faith in these kinds of concepts again. But certainly even if like you're coming to this as an atheist, doing a thought experiment, there is a sense of pessimism, there's a feeling of jadedness, and jaded is one of the words. It's interesting that you got journey instead. But yeah, it's like, there may even be a thing, because this is an astrological card right way up, there may be a feeling that you've been told again and again, oh, it'll all happen in due time. In time you'll feel better about yourself and your body, and in time you'll meet the right person, or perhaps this connection will come into fruition in right timing. You may have also been in I is 4 in the right timing pile, where you wanted to, spit at me when I said these things. because it is very frustrating when you can't see an end in sight, where you're in the kind of dark tunnel of the moon card with just a sliver of light miles and miles ahead of you, and you're thinking, well, everybody else is getting married right now, everybody else is in a relationship, or just everybody else seems to accept their body and themselves and their place in life, with it being a second house vibe as well, right? Their status is very easy for them to accept, and you may feel a lack of privilege in that area. If that is sparking off to you in particular, check out pile... Ooh, now which one was it? I think it was pile 2. But one of the piles anyway, in my competition reading, which is about 5 hours long, but not for individual piles, I hasten to add, because one of them did explore feelings of lack of privilege and how we take that forward into our experiences and manifestations, and how it can sometimes lead us to a cyclical pessimism and a cycle of our dreams not being fulfilled. If you're not vibing with that, that's fine. This is a general reading made for lots of kinds of people, but it's just one of the things that I've covered before. So yeah, there's a feeling of frustration overall, and sadness and anxiety, and it may even be that the level of anxiety here that we're talking about is kind of out of control for you. Nightmares is something I'm getting a lot as well. Again, I've said it in previous readings, but if you've been having nightmares about scorpions or spiders, look into the mythology and symbolism of each, because they are alerting to things in your outward circumstances. I mean, all recurring fear dreams about animals do that, but particularly with spider and scorpion, they're very powerful totems, which mean very different things to each other, but they both have a kind of alert system about the kinds of people you're encountering in your day-to-day life. And I say that in particular because you've got boundary setting stones, and I can't remember whether I did, but if I didn't mention it in the intro, there will also be a boundary setter reading on this channel, Try Before You Buy, and there is an extended version of that available in my shop as well. So, present tense energy, how are we feeling right now? 7 of Cups reversed, so again, lack of choice, feeling very fixed in your position, maybe even feeling like the journey that you are on has come to a complete standstill and you don't know how to start the engines again. Yeah, it's very sort of... Again as well, in the upright, this would be someone who had a lot of choices, particularly between partners, and it may feel at the moment like you have no choice, no selection available to you, like you've completely come out of that energy and you either don't know what to choose or there's no options anymore. Perhaps some of you feel like you've done the work and you're ready, but there's just nobody around. It's like they've all cleared off now that you've done some decent self-healing. Either way, there is a feeling of stagnancy, stuckness, indecision, lack of choice, or refusal to make a choice out of the resentment that we've spoken about with the other cards. And then sort of immediate future, we've got Queen of Cups in reverse. So this is a reluctance to give emotionally. This can be in reference to you or another person, but actually considering all the cups here, I think it's you. I think you don't want to be generous with your emotions with another person, knowing that you've put all this work in and all you feel is anxious and worried, and it's kind of like, how long will I have to work on myself and on my body? Because I'm feeling, with some of you, this is a body dysmorphia thing, and you've been on a very long journey of self-acceptance. And it's like, how emotional am I prepared to be with another person, knowing that, like, no matter how hard I've worked on this, like, it's almost like I've not got any further than I thought. And I want to tell you that you are further along, but that it is a journey. It is going to take a little bit longer before you feel ready. And if you are feeling that there's no partners coming up for you, or just that the partner that you've got your eyes set on is emotionally reluctant, or, you know, for some of you, you're in a partnership and there's an emotional block between you, there's a resistance from them. I do feel sort of like it's indicative of where you are on this long journey to do with the self, to do with sacral chakra issues. And for some of you, the orange chakra and the yellow chakra, sorry, I'm getting my names mixed up here, but it's like those two things are intersecting in the realm of self-esteem, which twos talk about. And it's like you need to push through that before you can be sexy again, before you can be receiving again, which are what those two energies in the body kind of refer to. I don't mean to speak about chakras appropriatively, by the way. I'm speaking about them in the context of like Western esoterica, although I know that they were taken into that from older sources, and I'm not a student of Tantra, so I absolutely encourage you as a student to seek those sources out. It's just that those colours and those themes are particularly relevant here. So the other thing with Queen of Cups reverse is that we can be talking about manipulation and jealousy. So like jealousy is coming up. J is for jealousy again is another option. So if you feel drawn to another pile, go to it, because it may be that it comes up. But I'm not feeling like this is jealousy to do with another partner, so much as jealousy of people who do have privilege, who do have many options available to them, who can be imaginative about their futures because they're not in this space of restriction that you feel yourself to be in. And in turn, that may lead to manipulation because there's so much resentment. It's like you almost can't get the engine started again without a little bit of subterfuge surrounding other people, whether that be on the small scale of, oh, hi, yeah, I'm fine today, or the large scale of actively lying to somebody, which I do not encourage, in order to feel like you've got momentum within a particular connection. And again, this is leading into the moon, and as well as this wildness we've spoken about, the moon can be about needing to cool off a situation, needing to make it, bring it into that yin vibe. So like cutting off from people for a little time, cooling down, literally and figuratively. We've got a very fiery album on. I'm wearing fiery colours. There's the Temperance Band, which is made of fire. You know, there's a lot of heated things going on here, stars and suns and stuff. And then this very cool, icy looking moon. And it's almost like, cool off your shit, deal with this idea of this Nine of Swords anxiety being at night. Why is it at night? What are your nightmares? What do they mean? A fantastic podcast for that, by the way, is This Jungian Life. If you go to their search box on the YouTube and type in any set of words to do with a dream you've had, you can guarantee that they've analysed a dream which is analogous in some way, and it will help you to sort of decode stuff. Or I'm an excellent dream decoder if you want to put your dreams and nightmares down in the comments, and I will try and sort of see what the meaning of that might be in relationship to self-esteem, or indeed to like cycles with another person, depending on who's viewing this. But yeah, there's a need to stop, look at your dream work, look at intuitive stuff, which is big lunar energy as well, the kind of unconscious or subconscious. Pick that apart, bring it up to this realm of the intellectual, and then see, in the context of that, what it's telling you about what you want from your emotional life. Because part of me is thinking that this isn't something missing on the journey of doing work on yourself. It's actually in what you're asking for in the first place and how you're asking for it. There's a key component missing, the why of what you want, or a particular ingredient that you don't think you have the right to or access to is gone from the picture. And I want you to be able to look at all of your desires, sexual or otherwise, and go, and you know what, I also want this thing as part of that picture. Or to look at all your subconscious motivations and say, realistically, I'm fantasizing about this familial setup or whatever it is, because what I crave is connection on this particular level, or intimacy about this thing which was always rejected within me, whatever it is, right? There's something missing to how you've been asking that is the missing component to not receiving and to getting in a cycle of being too in your head and up at night or having nightmares about it. And like I say, you are on the journey. This is not a destination reading. Unfortunately, this is not where I'm saying, yes, and in your immediate future it'll all work out and this person will come to you or you'll feel fine about this thing. It's more that you're listening to this today because you're in the process, and there's a need to acknowledge that it is a process. that some people's journeys with this are quite long. That if you're quite young and watching this, it may be months to years before you fully figure out what it is exactly that you want and what it is that you don't want, in order to, as we said with the stone portion, rule out what is not for you within your life. For you, the particular connections that you're cutting out may be romantic relationships, or people that you've been dating or had crushes on, maybe even like lingering exes that are confusing your vibe right now, that want things that you thought you wanted and actually are more to do with these people than with you. So I hope that was helpful, pile one. If it was, please like, subscribe, ding dong, thank you kindly. Again, comment down below if you want to tell me how it resonated or ask me anything in particular. But if you want a lot of detail, a lot of personalisation, there is the opportunity to book with me privately. That link is in the description as well. And there's a PayPal link if you want to offer me a donation for this, because this is my sole income and I really would appreciate it. Do stick around for a channeled if you pick this pile, but if not, I hope to see you soon. Okay, pile one, channeled message. The song is Legalised Sin and the band is Toke. Where I have the word toke and the word legalised together, and I'm looking at smoke coming from my oil burner, or steam moreover, but looks like smoke, then I'm getting that this may be my partaking pile, in which case, hello. I'm not able to partake, unfortunately, but I have tried in the past, and Jay is also for joint, so if you're sparking anything off at the moment, I hope this reading is sparking off stuff for you. Hail and welcome, right? What else have we got? I'm seeing the word Miles. It's also a name, so for some of you the person Miles will stick out. I used to know a very lovely person called Miles, but also this could be that you're like walking while you're listening to this, or you need to go walking or running. For those of you who are just chilling out and partaking in the J, but you haven't exercised in a while, go for a walk, go for a run. Some of you are training for a marathon, in which case you are braver than I, and good luck with it. But this is your kind of confirmation that this is your pile. What else? I'm seeing a very neon green colour, and I mean like assault on the senses green. It's quite there. So for some of you, you've just created art with that kind of green, or I'm getting like painted a room in that colour, although it seems like a very dominant colour to have in a large space. So you are a very brave person. Please let me know if that's you and what room and what you're using it for, why you chose green, because it looks amazing, but also it's like, whoa, fucking intense green, man. It's like a neon snot kind of a colour. I wish there was a better description, but it reminds me of, and this may be an additional message for some of you as confirmation or something, but in Rob Zombie's White Zombie days, when he used to do like murals and he used to do some of the art for the albums and stuff, and he had like eyeballs with flames coming off them and all kinds of crazy stuff. There was a particular shade of green that he used to use in that for like snotty, slimy looking things and Frankenstein monsters and, you know, all kinds of that green, if you feel me. Like, it's not far off from this, but it's less warm and more neon, right? And also, I don't know how that'll look on camera, so fuck that off, it doesn't matter. You are my very sweary pile as well. I feel more comfortable swearing with you guys, so hi. Thank you for being an articulation stan and not worrying about using profanity and how it affects people's interpretation of your message, but not necessarily the quality of the message itself. You guys are my sacred with profane in terms of your transmissions, and I really appreciate that about you. What else? The song is 4 hours, 4 hours. So there's something about something that takes 4 hours. Maybe you're on a 4-hour journey, or you need to be somewhere in 4 hours, or for a tiny minority of you, you were meant to be somewhere 4 hours ago. Look at your watch, my dude. But that's maybe like one person. If it is you, come back and comment once you finish rushing around, because that's funny as fuck and I'd like to know what's happening. What else? I'm seeing a clock face and then I'm hearing eyes without a face. So some of you have just watched that movie, or you're about to, or you're choosing, and eyes without a face will be a thing. Also, some of you have been listening to Eyes Without a Face, the album, which is what? Is that like... I'm going to really embarrass myself here if I'm wrong, but is that Billy Idol or something? Like, cool, but I can't remember, so let me know. There's something about eyes in a face as well. Eyes without a face. Ah, okay. Very Page of Swordsy kind of vibe. Somebody is observing you, but they do not want to be recognised by you. Eyes without a face, right? Eyes without the facial features attached. They want to be watching you without showing up as a face. So this may be like someone stalking you on Facebook or just as an online presence, but like not in a way... Like sometimes when people stalk you on Instagram or something, they're visible, right? This isn't that. This is someone using somebody else's account or watching you from afar in a way that you're not aware of. What is the additional... Okay, they're observing you because they're into you. So this isn't a bad message. This isn't like a creeper necessarily. This is just someone who's like, they're interested in you in a professional or a romantic sense. And they're kind of just taking a look before they get into stuff. You may have been my eyes for investigation last time. But yeah, there's someone having a good look and working up to like maybe reaching out or trying to think of a way to connect with you or something to say. Bless them. Poor little egg, they're having real trouble with it. But yeah, Eyes Without a Face is someone who's watching you, particularly your online persona. So this person could be at a distance as well. Again, small number of you, but for some of you, their avatar may be just an eye or a pair of eyes or like eyes from an anime or something like that. I'm getting anime because of the colours, because there's like that green that I mentioned and then like a sort of cyan turquoise colour. So they're... Or they have really big eyes and they like those colours and they're watching your ass. So just be aware. I actually... I know from my own watching of someone that may apply to. And I shouldn't know this information, so that's my Page of Swords showing. I'm going to pull my shirt down and cover that one. But yeah, that's relevant for some. What else? J is for pile 2. I'm seeing Pope on a rope, right? I know you can get soap on a rope, but somewhere you can get Pope on a rope as well. So for some of you, you've been visiting like a religious site that sells joke items or some kind of like gift shop that sells Pope on a rope. It's very niche, but whatever, like it's a thing I'm getting. And what I'm getting about that is that if you are cool with the idea of spirit teams, your spirit team finds this very funny, right? Pope on a rope is a hilarious pun to them. So, thumbs up, well done you. There's a lot of cackling of ancestral kind of voices going on. You've blown their tiny minds. I shouldn't say tiny minds. You've blown their from a different time period minds. Sorry, all due respect to ancestors, etc. What else? The next song is Toke by Toke, so some of you are releasing a self-titled thing, or you're titling an exhibition after yourself or after something in it, or there's like some self-titled thing going on, or if you're picking a name for like a night that I get a night that you're putting on or hosting, so maybe you like put on gigs or something, but it's like name it after something within it, if that makes sense. Whether it's after the person that you're doing it with, so the night is called Bob or something, or like whether it's you're naming the night you're putting on after one of the bands that you're hosting or after, I don't know, it's just like something within the thing that you're doing is the name of what you're doing and you don't know that yet. And I'm passing this message on. I don't know, man. It's pretty specific, but let me know if that's you and what the thing was and what the name was. I'm interested to know. So, point A to point B is coming up. I've seen like a dark dot and then a golden dot. Some of you have got like a dark piercing and then a metallic piercing close to each other. And it looks really cool. It's like a dark... I'm seeing like a dark satellite of a planet and then a sun is like the effect of these two together. It's very aesthetically appealing. You might be very astronomical in your appearance, which I do enjoy. But if it's not that, if you did get J for journey, or even if you didn't, there's something here about point A to point B and the harmony of point A with point B. Is your starting point fully aware of your destination? Have you got your sat-nav right? In very literal terms. In less literal terms, is the place that you're at now in alignment with the place that you want to be? If not, why not? And how can you subtract those factors? Excuse me if you hear me sort of hiccuping and other disgusting esophageal noises. This is something that happens when I channel, and I really can't help it. It's not just because I'm talking fast, dudes, because I can be in like 6-hour conversations with my friends, no joke, and I don't get any of this. But then when I'm doing a reading, it's like the burpy, swirly, squirmy, hiccupy, horrible noises start. Anyway, some of you may be having esophageal or gastro issues, in which case thoughts and prayers. Do look up any crystal correspondences you feel drawn to in terms of relationship to that. I don't think that any of these are, well, quartz is a good all-rounder, but none of them directly relate to that. But I know with the self-esteem stone thing, it was also to do with digestive stuff, body dysmorphia stuff, eating and ED stuff. So for some of you that may hit, in which case, like, look into, I do want to say look into holistic treatment of said things, or holistic interpretations of these things. But what I don't want to do is put it in your mind that that's exclusive to any medical intervention or mental health treatment, particularly if the ED stuff is hitting for you. I want to be very careful, as somebody who's not a mental health or a medical practitioner, not to recommend that we exclusively take the holistic route, right? And indeed, within a holistic system that is truly holistic, that's not possible. We would be taking our medicine in all paradigms, right? Medical and otherwise. But I do think that if you've been in treatment in a way that hasn't been beneficial so far, looking into some of the more archetypal reasons why these things are happening, and maybe the less conventional treatments that you can go after, would be really beneficial for you. And if this is sparking off for you, I do get the sense that you kind of already know what direction to go in with that. If you don't, like, I can do you a paid reading, but I almost don't want to take money off you if you've already got wind of an alternative therapy or a brand of herbalism or some kind of mythological thing that is vibing. And you want to take it to there, because I think it's just me nudging you. I don't necessarily think it's me saying, hey, how about me, who's not a medical practitioner, helps treat your massive, possibly systemic disorder, right? It's not like that. It's more that other treatments are available, shall we say. There are broader options available to you than what you've been given. And I get the sense that you know which direction you should be moving in with that. So this is me saying, go on. I'm pushing you, be free. Go towards it, it's okay. I give you permission, right? Just, this is your little nudge, okay? And I do hope that, whether it's something just gastric or whether it's something on a much broader and bigger and more difficult to treat scale, that you do feel better soon, okay? So that's for one of you. Excuse me, I've folded myself quite perilously. My leg was going dead. Right, we're good. Stretch out if you wanna. Stretch out if you need to. I know I said that in one of my readings before, but sometimes I treat this reading space like a grand chaise longue, a spiritual futon. Oh God, that sounds awful, doesn't it? That sounds like I'm in someone's janky flat that smells bad and has precarious stains on things. Anyway, God, I'm getting really off track. Are you, have you been particularly distracted of late, Pile 1? Maybe you're going off on tangents telling little stories to people. J is for like Joker energy, Jester energy, Sacred Harlequin. So I feel like some of your, possibly stoned, but maybe not, but your rants going off onto different subjects, telling different stories, are actually a real asset to the people around you, so keep doing that. Just also be careful to sort of rein yourself in if their faces started going pale or they start to look like they're dropping off. It's a fine line, and I walk it too, as you can probably tell at this stage. Lost Highway, the phrase is coming in. Again, you may be cinephiles in this pile, or it's a thing of exploring Hollywood, or what is it? Lost Highway. Lost Highways may be a thing for you. I feel like there's an urbexing book or something called Lost Highways as well. That might be just something I've made up or dreamt about, but it feels right. I don't know. Anyway, comment down below if you know what I'm on about. What else about Lost Highways, Spirit? The reason that I brought up ancestors and spirit and stuff previously in this pile, if you're not into that, and many of you aren't, so that's fine, is that with Lost Highways, you're going to be exploring some stuff that hasn't been explored in your family for a couple of generations, or that isn't something that is part of your immediate culture, kind of lost ways of doing something that you're going to get really into imminently, and this is going to be a really good big thing for you. So Lost Highways in terms of like, not just roads not travelled, because that feels like your trajectory and I'm not on about that, but like literally lost ways of behaving. For some of you, you're like anthropology students, or you're tapping into something that hasn't been done a certain way in a long time. Ooh, major tingles for that. And particular vibing with the scorpionic thing. So maybe it's like a link to shamanism or something. No, it's not that for all of you. What is it? There's just lost practices. Yeah, lost praxis for some of you. In whatever field. It doesn't have to be magical just because you're here. But there's something that used to be done that hasn't been done that way for a long time. And you guys are the people to bring it back. I really like that for you. Again, tell me what it is. I'd love to know. Also, it might be that I'm drawn to this scorpionic thing because that is from my grandfather's house, and some of the ways that he used to do things have kind of skipped a couple of generations, and are now coming back in a big way, or are about to. More on that another time, but let me tell you, when you when you're tapped in and you know about not just your generation but the next one, it's kind of weird, especially when they haven't arrived yet. I'm hearing the phrase "into the light" as well, which is the title of this song. So for some of you, it's something about, oh, hello, you've been a cinephile pile, and there's "into the light," and then there's lost ways of doing something. For some of you, it's like film restoration. You're going to be a projectionist. You're going to do something cinema related that hasn't been done since early cinema with your particular discipline, lineage, something like that. There's Lost Highways there. I know that Lost Highways is like referential to Hollywood anyway, but I'm getting bigger than Hollywood. I'm getting like film as a medium, photography as a medium, and there's lost ways of going about it, and you're bringing it back or making it new. For some of you, I'm seeing like taking really old titles or phrases or ways of going about stuff and doing cool shit with it on Midjourney or like, what's the other one? DALL-E or whatever it is. Like bringing the old into the new, but with particular relevance to lost practices. Anyway, that is your channeled reading, pile 1. I'm not going to take more than that because we'll be here forever. There are 2 more channeled readings if you feel like you want to follow on. I think some of you might. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get into the second pile of tarot. All right, where's my envelope? Oh, there. Pile 2. J is for... Oh. J's for jammed right now. Maybe you've had something jammed in something else or stuck in some way in the physical sense. Jedi! Yes! Star Wars pile! Star Wars pile! Sorry, I shouldn't have got that excited about this, but I really am. I've been waiting to read for Star Wars people for ages. You may be drawn to my previous cartomancy reading, in which there was stuff with the Mandalorian deck. That's not for all of you, just for some, but I do read with Star Wars cards. You can also book that in some of my private readings if you're interested in having stuff from me later on. These are leaping out. The force is strong with this one. Wow, completely different vibe. And I'm seeing that like turquoisey sort of force colour as well, like the blue that's almost green that comes from a lightsaber. You know what I mean. Doesn't mean it is turquoise, it just means that that's like a vibe. Some of you may be turquoise saber clan. I myself am white sabered, but I guess I would have been green. If not, I don't know. There's a long story to that. I'm not going to bore you with it, but I think your saber colour is truly important in this life and the next. Some of you will be absolutely lost and you're not a Star Wars fan, in which case I will read for you as well. I promise I'll explain this shit, but I get the feeling that many of you are indeed Jedi or Force sensitive or whatever. And after all, it is a series of movies, books, seasons, etc. that is essentially about magical practice and different belief systems. Or at least about energy work, the way I see it. But anywho, right, J is for Jedi, they're your cards, and let's take our D12 and find out what area this is in, astrologically speaking, in the house systems. So we're in 8th house again. You know what's weird is that I think last time we had like a 2nd house reading and then an 8th house reading. I'm not sure they were in that order, but it's just, I don't know, man. Like, my D12 isn't rigged or anything. I've used this baby 1,000 times, but it's just strange that it would come out that way. Anywho, I'm rambling too much. I'm going to go and meditate on this pile, and I'll be back in a jiff. You will not feel the cut, providing I can find the remote to pause the damn thing. Hey, music remote, thank you. There we go. See you in a sec. Okay, pile 2, this is pretty straightforward. I always say that and then it ends up being longer than I think it's going to be. But, right, so you are, even if you don't identify as Jedi within the Star Wars universe, I'm guessing that if you're on a tarot channel getting a Star Wars card, excuse me, I'm moving around too much. I hope that didn't knock that too far. Yeah, I get the feeling that if you're on my channel, you're spiritually curious at the very least. And if you've picked out the word Jedi, then you possibly resonate with the idea of Jedi versus Sith, the idea of like where the Jedi went wrong, grey Jedi even, or like fallen, or you're sort of looking at, or you may have looked at, or should look at, similarities between, for example, the Jedi and desireless faiths and spirituality within the world, and why they do and don't work in a universe which I believe requires passion, requires desire. There's a lot of mapping to the spiritual life from the Star Wars universe, even if you take all the very obvious energy work out of it. In terms of like factions of religion that believe this thing, the opposite to that, what that means for government, what that means for individuals, what temptations and failings those individuals fall prey to as a result of what they do and don't emit from their religious beliefs. Star Wars is a lot deeper than it comes off as, let me say. Honestly, more of a Trekkie myself, but still with a lot of respect to the Star Wars universe. And if you are picking Jedi, we're talking about, like it's, okay, firstly, we're in the 8th house, right? So if you're not down with the occult, I don't think you'd be on this channel, but this isn't your pile. This is very much directly related to your spiritual beliefs. Yes, the 8th is sex and death, but it's also the occult very strongly, right? If you have strong plutonic 8th placements, chances are, if you're not a witch, you're at least very interested in doing divination yourself or changing reality via your own thought process, which, by the by, even if you're an atheist, that's kind of magic. It might be chaos atheism, but you're still under a magical paradigm. Sorry to break it to you if you're a skeptic. But yeah, so it's this idea that your own energy, your own outlook, your own intention with things can bring about change in the world. Because the 8th talks about shared resources as well as the occult. And what is the shared resource that we're all tapping into by taking a tarot reading on the internet? By me connecting to you and what it is that you might need and want? Well, put simply, it's the Force. I joked that you were my Force sensitive pile, but you actually are, right? With Jedi and the 8th, it couldn't be clearer. And the clarifier for your pile is a Page of Swords. Read young Jedi or trainee with a saber, right? And didn't I mention before, just as the coloured lamp turns itself off, I mentioned choosing your saber colour. So for some of you, this is about your spiritual alignment, you choosing your spiritual purpose, your spiritual path. See how I said I'd explain it for people who don't know about Star Wars, right? This is a spiritual alignment reading. If you know very firmly what your ethics, your value system, your pantheon, your paradigm is, this is probably not going to be the one for you. Because I feel like with this Jedi 8th and the combination of cards, this is about somebody who's finding their feet for the first time in the spiritual landscape, or who is sort of taking a turn on the path into a new area and doesn't quite know what coloured saber, what coloured kyber crystal they would be taking with them, right? It's almost as if once you grasp the sword, which, by the way, in tarot as well as in Star Wars, is about the truth of the person, you don't know what kyber crystal is going to change to, responding to you, or indeed what it started out as, because, as we know, certain kyber crystals can become certain things and certain ones can't, you know. It starts as a colour and then sometimes it becomes a colour. I said I was a white alignment, and that is very much to do with that combination of those two things, right? You bleed the crystal, it turns red, and then when you overcome your temptations, it becomes the Ahsoka white saber. For those of you who are not actual sci-fi nerds, what I'm getting at here is that sometimes your alignment chooses you. Some things you will be gravitated towards and not others. And then within those sorts of umbrellas of things, it's up to you to choose a paradigm to do with whether you're left-hand or right-hand path, to do with whether you believe certain things about certain movements of energies, whether you generate energy from inside you, whether you draw it from the outside and then take it in and do stuff with it. All these kinds of issues are big for you right now. And that can be in a religious sense, in a magical practice sense, just in the sense of taking on the philosophy of divination and thinking, well, this girl seems to get it right, so what do I believe about that? What do I think she's doing? Is she conning people? Is she tapping into something? If so, what is that something? What do I believe about it, right? These are all questions that you're exploring in earnest. And this is why I get more of a newcomer vibe. It doesn't mean that you're new to the spiritual life overall. It's just that these are questions that you haven't examined in this way before, and you're taking a proper look at them right now. And I notice that the only other card that has a face on it or is to do with like a person within this reading is the Devil, right? This can be read two ways. This can be in the sort of Jedi Sith paradigm, that you have been looking into spiritual models which revolve around the manifestation of your desires, or indeed raise energy from your passions. So things like charging spell work from generating emotions, be they positive or negative emotions in the general, you know, to any extent that anything aligns with that, which I think is bollocks, but you know what I mean. Like, maybe you've been looking at stuff that charges a hex with the anger you feel to the person. Conversely, you might have been looking at love magic that protects and preserves someone by generating the loving energy that you feel towards them and putting it into a statue or a candle or whatever. This is a very Jedi Sith choosing your crystal kind of thing to explore for perhaps the first time. There's also a thing here about magical temptation, not falling prey to going straight into results magic when actually what would benefit you more is ritualism around worship, around reverence, around cultivating quietness and balance within the self before you go out and use the magic to make that million, or to smite thine enemy, or whatever it is that you want to use it for. I'm not making judgments on this channel as to whether you use Malefica or not, but let's just say that with the Devil card cropping up, it might be something you've been thinking about. And I would strongly urge you to look into your own personal system of ethics and how it interlocks with everything else you believe, how it interlocks with what you would wish upon yourself, and indeed with the repercussions of where you think energy comes from and where it goes to. If we're talking about the Force, and we're talking about making deals with spirit or with contacts or raising energy so that it goes to and from a thing, what is it that you believe about those processes is the karmic repercussion. And I say karmic knowing it's a misuse of the term and appropriative, but it's the right word for this at the moment. But is the repercussion for the energy work that you're doing going to be solely on you? Is it coming from the wider world? Is it something that you can make a deal or make a trade about and get rid of? You know, where is your system of ethics with that? And this applies even if you're not dealing with anything like what you would call bad or Sith magic, if you're not dealing with curses, passions, infuriation, any of this sort of darker energy that we were talking about. It can just be like, where do you think energy comes from and where do you think it goes to? I'm hearing Cotton Eye Joe, right? Where did you come from? Where did you go? It's a terrible thing to be in my head, but also it's the relevant thing for this. Because we're talking about burden and overburden, we're discussing juggling between two things, perhaps left hand and right hand path, perhaps light or dark, perhaps giving, receiving, you know, just between certain polarities, certain paradigms. Where do you think one brings in? Where do you think one sends out? Also with the devil, we could be talking about the devil, and I don't mean the Christian Satan. I mean the devil as in the Booker Jew, the kind of Lord of the Woods type paradigm, and whether that can be useful into energy work and into sort of drawing power from the earth. Some of you got my reading before, I think it was my Dark Crystal pile in the competition reading, where we talked about the stang, and you're sort of drawing energy up from the earth in a you know, typically Jedi way, and that is very much to do with this Lord of the Woods, Lord and Lady dichotomy archetype, or dealing with the man in black, if you like. Some of you are entering into crossroads deals, again, give and take, right? An exchange of things, and you're figuring out where it is that you think that comes from, what you think this thing is, this other, this devil that you're dealing with actually comes from and is, and how that relates to broader spirituality. So for some of you, you're doing things like exploring syncretism, and you're going, okay, I'm a Christian syncretist who wants to deal with Christ consciousness, very Jedi energy, but I also want to make deals with the non-Christian Woods concept, you know, British traditional witchcraft concept of the devil. How does that factor in to syncretic practice and to traditional Christianity? Because it did incorporate witchcraft. Sorry to be the one to break it to you if you're solely Christian and you're watching this. But, you know, the original cunning men, cunning women, pellers, etc., at least in my country, were also Christians, right? It's kind of a modern myth that we were always pagan practicing this. Perhaps we were a long time ago, but the survivors of practices like divination and indeed energy work often were Christian, as well as worshipping older stuff and dealing with older stuff, and, you know, making deals with devils and fairies at the same time as they were going to church. So that's also something interesting to think about, right? When one is choosing one's kyber crystal and or powering up one's saber for the first time. In the middle, in the sort of present energy for this, I'm getting 3 of Cups reversed. So this is not working in a group. Maybe you were in a group and something the group did is something you didn't resonate with. Maybe you've left a coven if you are more established, or there's just kind of a group religion or a paradigm or whatever that you're not dealing with very well at the moment. The light has gone off again, which is curious. It's like the spark of this particular thing has gone out for you. And that shouldn't be the case with this, because I turned on the light and not the oils, so it shouldn't matter whether it's dry or not. There we go. But it's interesting that that came off, right, from light to dark. Maybe you have switched from light worker, which is, by the way, a term I don't really like, to a more balanced paradigm, shall we say, an understanding that any magical intervention can be by ripple effect a curse, and that left hand and right hand path mean focused on self versus focus on the other, and less, oh, good practitioner, evil practitioner, right? Maybe the sort of old wives' tales of neo-Wicca in that sense have grown a bit old for you, and you're going, no, I can be more balanced in my practice, and I can deal with a greater amount of things or think about things deeper from a philosophical perspective, without just sticking to like rule of three type stuff, or without labeling myself always as for the light, as if darkness is a negative, as if we don't all have shadow aspects worthy of illumination and discovery, and indeed energy raising, right? So that could be you. Or this could be just like a call to solitary practice, quite frankly. This is pulling away from friends, pulling away from third parties in terms of mentor energies that are interfering with what you think about a particular thing, myself included. If you don't feel drawn to this reading, or if you don't vibe with me after some of the things that I've said within it, you're absolutely free to move on and find other people to talk about this with, right? But it's this sense that you're pulling away from group stuff and individuating for the first time in a way that is truly powerful and that takes you from apprentice to Jedi, right? Also, the Four of Cups that this reading sort of culminates in, and that is also the groundwork underneath this idea of intellectual and creative burden for the moment, is about accepting unseen offering from without, right? So there's an offering from contacts, from spirit, from circumstance even, including myself and stumbling upon this, where you're being handed information about a certain thing with a sort of overarching energy of, have you thought about this, or look at this, or maybe this is for you. This could be a book falling off a shelf in a bookshop. That's happened to me a few times. It could be something left outside your door. That's happened to me also. A page torn out of a book that wasn't in English to do with the deity that I was working with at the time. That's probably one of my most stark magical experiences. But yeah, all kinds of things can happen. And I get the feeling that one of these synchronistic experiences has happened to you. You know, you've seen a repeat reference to something in particular that you want to look into, even if it's Jedi training. And if it is, what's the guy's name? I want to say Opie, like O-P-I-E, MacLeod or MacLeod or MacLeod or something like that. Anyway, wrote a brilliant book, a philosophy book called The Situational Jedi, which will get your brain ticking if you're a Star Wars fan over some of the sort of ethics of magic type themes and over just how to conduct yourself. It's sort of like it takes the stoicism of the Jedi path and marries it up with much more esoteric ideas, in my view. So it's a really good primer. But also the same dude on, what is that app that allows you to, it's like YouTube for meditations, right? And I think the guy's got some guided meditations on YouTube. I'll link below if he has. But there's a lot on this app, whatever it is anyway. It's not Insight Timer, it's one of the other ones like that. But anyway, there are custom meditations for Jedi, for Grey Jedi, and indeed for Sith, I imagine, out there, where you get, you know, natural sounds, rainforest noises, heavy thunder, etc., whatever your bag is. And over the top of that, you get readings of the Jedi Creed, or the Grey Jedi Creed is the one that I use. And just sort of, excuse me, hiccups and all kinds of mad esophageal noises go on when I'm channeling. I apologise. Yeah, just stuff to get you kind of going over the principles religiously of the thing. I know that Jedi is something that people put for shits and giggles on the census, but legitimately, if you take it as a playful, experimental way of opening yourself up to spirituality, and you do some Jedi meditations, and then you go, right, what real world stuff looks like this, it can open you up to a whole new world of practice, right? And this is part of what I did in the last year, I want to say, or at least since like the beginning of lockdown. I've been doing a lot of grey Jedi work alongside like traditional cunning praxis, which weirdly fits into each other really fucking well. I can make a video about that if anyone's interested, comment down below. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, Jedi praxis stuff is out there for you if you feel drawn to that. If not, there is just something that is popping up in your experience again and again, and it wants you to go on an occult journey with it. It wants you to do some belief shifting around it. If you are a skeptic, it wants you to entertain that it does exist for a day and just see where that takes you, right? Do the visualizations, say the affirmations, or follow the advice in the reading for a maximum of hours that you set, and then go, right, well, how do I feel at the end of this? Even if it's all bollocks, did it play out well, right? I'm reminded of the fantastic Ramsay Dukes quote that I feel like I'm repeating to everybody all the time, which paraphrased is something like, we bother so much about what's true, but not about what's got utility to it, right? So he picks up astrology, he drops astrology. He picks up divination like this, he drops it again at will. He tries on the hat of different ceremonial magician practices, and then he'll go into a completely different thing. For those of you uninitiated, that is called chaos magic. But I feel like his quote in particular is very useful, because it's like, yeah, maybe you're worried about what seems true to other people instead of what will be useful to you in the moment for making the next decision in front of you and taking you further down a particular path of self-discovery. And I really do think that what has seemed to be burdened within this path is decoded also the last step before culmination, right? We're one before the 10. We're about to reach fruition within a particular practice, or set ourselves on a particular road, or enter a certain kind of training. The mentor will reveal himself when the student is ready, yeah? So think about it, Padawan. Contemplate on these ideas. Have a look at different, I'll link it down below, but there's great videos about what different kyber crystals mean for you. What kinds of colours are you drawn to at the moment? And then that may have like an indication for personal practice in your religious and spiritual sphere, even if you've never connected it to Star Wars before. Or even if you're not a sci-fi head, right? It might just be useful information. So, I'm very intrigued to know where you go from here and what your existing practice or lack of it is. Please comment down below with where you hail from and where you're thinking of going, if it's not too personal to share. Please subscribe if you're interested in that. Please like if you liked the reading. There is an optional donation button down below, which I'm keen to tell you about because this is my sole income. So again, chuck me a quid if this was useful to you. Or, you know, if you want to put a timestamp to come back to it and tell me what you found on your spiritual journey, I'd love to know in the future. Yeah, I hope to see you again soon. I hope that whatever it is, it's not too influenced by the ideas of other people on what is right and wrong, what is good for you, bad for you, what comes from what thing, what doesn't. Do your own research, always. I feel like magical practice is just universally enhanced by good academic research, okay? There's a lot of misinformation out there, particularly from variations on religious practice that have only been around since the 50s, if you feel me. So do your research. Let me know what you find and what finds you. Let me know what colour sabre you're carrying. And whatever it is, may the force be with you. Right, pile 2, channeled reading, very interesting tarot reading. Some of you are starting something again because the music has just started again, so I get to have the utter joy of listening to Within the Sinister Void once more. Okay, there's something about that. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Zach, if you're seeing this. A friend of mine made a meme thinking about the sinister void, or the void in general, that was a picture of Nietzsche that said something about who wants their abyssiate. I'm so sorry for how grim that is, but I'm just seeing that in my head. So it could be that you make memes, it could be that you are reading Nietzsche at the moment, in which case no comment. It could be that you're dealing with like the abyss as a thing, maybe as a magical thing. That'd be cool. Maybe this is my Quarrier gang. Certainly the reading for your pile was very like occult focused, esoterically focused. But yeah, there's just something about that meme. Maybe you just want your pussy ate now. Who fucking knows? Don't comment if that's the case, but good for you. I'm getting all kinds of things from that meme and with this pile. Oh, also, some of you may be artists or cat lovers, because Jean says hi. This is J is for Jean. This middle ring is from one of my dead friends. Don't be sorry for me. It's fine. I'm still in touch. Well, yeah, she wants to say hi, and there's something about working with. You need to be clear, my love. She talks for hours, but she's never really getting to the point, even worse than me. Work with gouache if you're an artist. That's it. That's all she wants to say. I'm getting like really solid pigments, and I was like, is this a colour thing? Is this a what is that pigment thing? What is that pigment feels like a game as well. Like, what's that pigment? Let me guess. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, I'm getting off track because Jean always did. But yeah, work with gouache, because I was seeing these big gloopy paints and it was that or acrylics, but gouache is the vibe because she always preferred those. I feel like gouache is the perfect marriage of acrylic and watercolour, because they can have the watery unpredictability and blendability, but they've also got the sticky vividness of acrylics that I crave, even though I'm not good at mixing it. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling about art materials to you. That may just be a thing. I'm seeing 50s for you because of the envelope as well. You may have just... I'm hearing you may have got 50 quid in your account. Excuse me, that you didn't know about, or you found a 50 somewhere. If you're the sort of person who carries £50 notes, then good for you, man. Like, I'm lucky if I find a fiver a lot of the time. I know that's not a great thing to affirm, but I feel like... I can't believe I'm saying this having just said you found a 50, but I never see people with £50 notes in this country unless they're like super, super rich or a drug dealer. I feel like you just get 20s or something. You don't like carry 50s. And I remember when I was in like service industry and then like in working for cinemas and doing programming and that kind of thing later on, that like seeing a 50 in the till was this like, oh my God, 50 quid in my hand in one note. It's like, you never come across 50s, man. Anyway, again, rambling, stop. Something about 50s, I don't know, man. Right, can I just channel instead of ramble? Are you quite finished, Jean? Thank you. I mean, told to put that on there. So this was particularly for you, if you saw the intro bit about that. If you didn't, skip back and watch it later. You should always watch my intros. There you go. Some of you are drummers. Because I was hearing the drums on the song, obviously, but I was also like seeing them really well. And oh my, I just love this album so much. This EP, sorry, it's just fucking great. Digression again. Man, I'm so distracted with this pile. Get your mind on one thing, yeah? Have you taken your pills? If like, this isn't in a slow way, because neurodivergent gang, right? And I have many of those qualities for different reasons, because after a brain injury you get much of the same stuff. But if you are on any medication for neurodivergence, the reason I'm feeling very scattered is to say, have you taken your meds? Because do. And now I'm less scattered, so that was that. Right, wicked. I'm looking at the knots in these. There's something about tying yourself in knots, or it's not cord cutting. I know you wanted to say it was, some of you. I heard you say it, but it's not that. It's something to do with knots. There was a previous reading where we got knot work, as in Celtic knot work, and knot work as in witches' ladders, but it's not that. It's not that. Sorry, Jesus. What is it about knots, guys? Oh, okay. Some of you, can't remember the name of it, but you're into that, oh God, how do I explain this without explaining it on the internet where I might get banned? You're into the kinky knots, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway. Nervous laughter. Sensible chuckle. Give me something else, Spirit, for fuck's sake. I'm getting scratches now, and alright, other than that, yeah. I know that knots leave marks on the body, that's all very nice and appealing, but that's not what I'm thinking about, okay? Let's make this family friendly, yeah? I'm seeing like a camera with a fly on the lens. This is a shot of a film for some of you who came from the channel for Power 1. So I don't know why you'd watch 2 channels in a row, but good for you, thank you. For others, what is this? A fly on the lens is like a blockage in the way that you're seeing things. And it may move around as you do, but it's like a blind spot. Yeah. But it's a blind spot that can buzz off. So it's like a... Okay, for some of you who do energy work, and I don't want to scare you if you don't, so if you don't do energy work, and if you don't know what I mean by this term outside of horror movies, this is not for you. But for those of you who are my Quarrier pile, or, you know, are used to seeing different energies that aren't yours around, do lots of astral work, etc., watch your parasites at the minute, particularly emotionally, and watch how worldview is coloured by the fly on the lens in that sense, right? Again, if you're thinking, oh my God, am I parasited, or is this a demon or something? It's not for you, right? This is only for people who know what I mean by that kind of stuff and are very comfortable in getting rid of it afterwards. And like I say, my sort of Quarrier gang, my magical practitioners, etc. Just be careful of environmental parasites in particular that feed off emotional stuff. J is for Jehovah. I know that this applies to at least one person who might be seeing this. Some of you used to be Jehovah's Witnesses, or you've had Jehovah's visit your house recently or something like that, and this is confirmation that, hi, you're in the right place. Whether or not you think you were, I see you, motherfucker, and you were. Sorry, I don't mean to call you a motherfucker, that's not very nice. That's me speaking more to that particular friend. But yeah, J is for Jehovah is coming up really powerfully. J is for Jar for some of you as well. And we take all worldviews on this channel. It's not like, because I talk about occultism occasionally, it's not like I expect you to be just an occultist. You can be religious, you can be non-religious, you can be here for anybody, right? But this is still for you, okay? With me saying this is not for you and this is still for you in the channels, some of you in my House of Leaves gang, what is it about that? Known some called Aram. You are not what you used to be is, I mean, it's one of my favourite quotes from that anyway, but particularly for you at the moment, right? There's an old self and a new self and they're very distinct from each other, and I'm proud of you for that. And I feel like if you reread our favourite book, because if you've read it, it's your favourite book, if you're in your right mind anyway, or one of your favourite, in the top 10, shall we say, high fidelity speaking. Yeah, if you want to reread our favourite book, it will hit different around the known some call it Aram stuff. If you haven't read House of Leaves, you don't know what I'm on about, that's fine. But for me, it's like another grimoire, and I've got a heavily annotated copy, and I'm really weird with it. So One of the things for H is, it didn't come out yet, but H is for house at some point, so we'll do that and we'll make it a weird extended deep dive reading. Actually, if you're House of Leaves gang and you just want me to do a House of Leaves style reading in some way, like in terms of setting up the deck and stuff, let's do that and comment down below. Because I'll only do it if people are interested, but it's an idea I had like pre-pandemic even, and I've just not come back to it, I guess. Anyway, known some callers Aram. Me too, mate. I was like trying to, for some of you this is like, get on with it, you're a load of hot air. But I was like blowing air in a weird way with my face just then while I was thinking. And I got the phrase, like, a load of hot air. So for those of you who aren't judging me right now, J is for judgment, J is for judgy. This is like, you've been trying to communicate something and what's coming out is a load of hot air. And I feel like the way for you for the minute is silence, okay? Like, just take a break, have a cuppa, have a think about it. It's okay, you don't need to say it instantly. And whoever called you, or whoever said it was hot air, by the way, is like kind of an asshole, so don't listen to them. But if something has been hot air, or it's been like a pipe dream, or what's coming out of your mouth seems like irrelevant to somebody around you, just take a break, right? Come back to it. Also, I'm getting the name, I'm getting 2 names actually, 3. I'm getting Julia, Derek, and Declan for some reason. So any of those could be involved. But J is for Julia, I guess fits, because that's the first one I saw. So if you are a Julia, hi. If you're looking for one, this may be your pile, etc. This is called hand banging, by the way. It's if you're head banging and channeling, you do this. Sorry. Oh man, I'm really like, I don't know what's up with this pile. You guys are in the nicest possible way and the most affectionate way as well, because you're my pile, right? You guys are weird. There's something about the riff that I was enjoying here that reminded me of another riff that I enjoy, and then reminded me of a song called Swan Song. Some of you got the swan message in one of my previous A to Z letters. I can't remember which one it was, I'm so sorry. But if it is for you, it will be in the comments for that video, or the description for that video. There is a link to swan as a totem. So I won't link it here, but that might be a thing. Or swan songs as in like you're singing a swan song for a particular phase, or you're leaving a job or a relationship or something like that, and there's the swan song happening. I'm not getting big death vibes, but it's swan song in another fashion, right? Also, some of you have been having knee problems, or you're looking at your knees, you're like in shorts as I'm reading this. I'm getting like a vision of someone in board shorts, right? And you're looking at some very knobbly but very appealing knees. Lovely knees. So if you've been having knee pain or something, that might be related to something you get in a reading, in a holistic sense. Is there anything more about that? I mean, knees are about flexibility and movement through the world, and sort of where your weak spots are. And the song is Weak Life. So there is a sense of like not feeling cut out for a particular thing, and that's affecting you in the physical. And that might be why you're having knee injuries or knee pain or knee problems. By the way, if your joints are playing up, glucosamine is excellent for that. Again, not a medical practitioner, just saying all this. But yeah, look at where you're feeling pretty inflexible, pretty stuck on an issue. And that might be like the root of the knee stuff. When you have a bit more flexibility around how you're going to approach something, the knees will clear up, right? And if it's just that you're looking at your knees, they're lovely. Carry on. I'm also like, I'm getting the thing in my head of my mum's a very strange person, guys. Like, God love her. She's why I'm how I am. But she used to sniff her knees every spring and like tell us when she thought summer had started because the smell of her knees would change. And she thinks that this is a thing that lots of people do. So comment if you do, but I've never fucking heard of it before or since her, right? But anyway, if you're sniffing your knees, this is for you. This is your acknowledgement that other people sniff the knees. And that's a thing. Or maybe you're in the transition point watching this between spring and summer, in which case, comment. I was going to say comment a knee emoji. I don't think there's such a thing, but comment a leg or something down in the comments so I know it's you. But yeah, there we go. And with that, I'm going to stop talking bollocks and go on to the next pile. Pile 3. J is 4. Let's get your cards first, shall we? Hey, these guys are eager. Bloody Nora. Somebody wants to speak. Excuse me. You've gone from eager to not telling me anything. What's you want out? Right. I almost don't want to say this, but before we start, I don't know what this reading's about and it may not be relevant to what I'm about to say. This is just a channeled thing. But for some of you, I was hearing J is for jail, and then I instantly heard a very enthusiastic voice in my head. Are you upright or not? Yeah, you are. Saying horny jail. So, horny jail may be applicable for some of you. I'm not here to judge, but go to horny jail for whatever you've been thinking or doing. You want to be a clarifier. Are you that way up or this way up? You're that way up, right. What is it called? I know what it is, but I've forgotten at the moment to comment. But I know, like, clairvoyance is seeing, clairaudience is hearing, clairsentience is knowing. What's it called when you touch stuff and you get a different sensation? Because that's something I can do. But anyway, I've just forgotten the word for it, and it'd be nice to know. Be my Google, people of the internet. I'm lazy. I actually hate it when other people do that, but I'm going to do it to you guys because I can. J is for judgment call. Interesting. And D12, which astrological house is the judgment call in? First. Wellity. Right. I'm going to meditate on these. I'll be back in a jiff. Right. Excuse my remote. I don't know whether that was on camera or not. Pile 3. This judgment call is about the self and about the body because it's first house. However, I think this is to do with love, or at least like an interpersonal connection which has meant a lot to you. Has meant sounds past tense and it's not, it's present, but there is something. I suspect it's a love connection because for many of you this is about being ghosted, that is putting you in a position where you're making a judgment call which will have more relevance for how you view yourself than perhaps how you progress with this individual. And I think actually if this is to do with a love connection, they've kind of already decided where they're moving, but the judgment call is for you to decide whether you're going to accept that or stand for it, should I say, or not, right? This is the judgment. In the underground and sort of thematic underpinnings of this reading, we have the Ace of Cups. We also, in this particular deck, have the idea of home, the idea of your palace, your sanctuary, where it is that you're more comfortable, what it is you want to build for yourself brick by brick, right? For some of you, the song Brick by Brick may be a thing. Or for some of you, the idea of when she builds the palace in the storyteller, or should I say the thought lion builds the palace for her. You know that on this channel, every reading that I do is somehow going to reference a storyteller episode somewhere. So there it is. I've got it out of the way. It only took 3 readings. Anyway, but there's this idea of like, what is it that you're building? What is your idea of love, of emotionality, of foundation? Yeah, foundation is a... some of you, I'm getting, you've been watching or reading the Foundation trilogy thing, the Asimov. Is it a trilogy? I want to say it's a trilogy. Damn, it shows how long it's been, right? But anyway, for some of you that'll vibe, particularly if you came from the second J pile, which we will not name right here, but this seems to be a particular choice for sci-fi fans this week. Anyway, ideas of love, ideas of establishing emotional comfort, sanctuary, your place in the world as distinct from everybody else's place in the world. Also, like Ace of Cups is a love offering, so this is either something you were thinking of giving or something you were expecting, I dare say, from another individual, who I think is a ghost, or at least not very forthcoming because of this Five of Pentacles. I am going to use a typical interpretation here of left out in the cold. I heard some of you say it with me and roll your eyes. Every tarot reader in almost everywhere on YouTube uses that one interpretation for it, but in this case it's pretty apt, right? You may have contacted them and they just dropped, or you may have sort of stayed in contact with them, but they're not giving you what you thought this was. For some of you, the spiritual imagery of the Smith-Waite deck for this one are particularly apt as well, because it's almost like you put somebody on a pedestal as your Ace of Cups, and yet what you're receiving from them, rather than being this beautiful stained glass connection to the divine through the collaboration of the two of you, is in fact just you feeling left out in the snow outside the church, locked out, excommunicated from the connection, from your ideas of what the connection was. There's been a stop-start pattern, because I'm hearing the way that the riff is changing. But yeah, it's been very off on, lots of people dropping off in communication, or not lots of people, sorry, but lots of times where this person has done that. And then, sorry to say it, but the rainbow for your reading, the overarching energy, the big theme up top, is a Seven of Swords. So we're talking sneaky, underhanded, shifty-ass behaviour from somebody here. And I dare say that if somebody has ghosted you, it's because they wanted to explore other things, or they wanted to breadcrumb you while they did other stuff. They wanted to hide something from you, keep a secret, something along those lines, and it is not vibing well for you. Now, this shouldn't be a first house issue, right? This is more of a interpersonal dynamic which hits the 7th, 8th or 11th, or even the 12th, depending on how you view it, right? But the reason it's in your first house is because this has fundamentally changed your personality in some way, right? You may have become far less trusting. You may have become far more trusting because in some way this person has gaslit you into believing that you need to give love completely unconditionally. And that's changed your boundaries, which in turn has changed the way that you present to other people, right? This experience can go in both directions. Like, we often think of people who have bad relationship experiences as becoming more guarded, but sometimes it can actually make somebody more open to being walked on again. It can make them more open to patterns of abuse because they're normalising treatment from somebody that they justify based on the personality of that individual, which is in fact mistreatment for them, right? So I'm not saying that's all of you, but it's something that I'm getting, so I have to tell you, because J is for justice, after all. And it is your jurisdiction, which is another J. I think that this is going to be a more important card to the development of your personality than this one. Because we all have an idea of love, but a lot of it taps into this platonic idea of love. So however we see our Ten of Cups, however we see our idyllic family or non-family setup, with another person, whatever we think would make us feel emotionally secure and safe. And safety is a big thing in this palace idea, which is unique to the Viéville. But you know, whatever that is, it tends to come from a very platonic idea of what that looks like. Whereas betrayal can differ based on the personality of the individual. And with this being an Aries dominant house, it does deal with individualism, right? And with one's, well, Aries deals with reactivity, I should say that, someone with a North Node there, because by gum do I know that, right? But also it deals with individual reactions and the individualism of how one responds emotionally to any given thing. For some of you, this is the Aries shadow of childlike petulance. For others, this is just a particular trigger with this thing that was unique to you. That doesn't mean you behaved badly in turn at all. Although if you did, you may enjoy my competition reading that was posted a couple of videos ago on this channel. But it's certainly like, whether this is that this has made you act out of character and that's changed your personality, or whether it's just that the particular reaction to it was unique to the things that make up you, and possibly a very different reaction from what your friends or family or other allies would have. It's like changed you, and you feel like you can't go back, right? So the judgment call about that particular betrayal and the nuances of it and how it intersects with your personal attachment issues and your personal parameters and boundaries and what you will and won't tolerate from somebody else, that's going to be your judgment call in terms of how you take it forward and how you act on it, okay? So firstly, we've got a very overburdened feeling. That can be sort of recent past. Feeling overwhelmed by the entire situation, like you sort of can't see the wood for the trees or can't see where this is going because you are so focused on where it did go. And I'm getting, I can't remember which card it was from or whether it was just a song message energy, but for some reason when I was sort of channeling through this in the meditation, I got a sense of like on off. Oh, it was the song earlier, wasn't it? It was the right? So it's very like repeating back on itself. It's very cyclical, flip-floppy. And because of that movement, I think you're so busy carrying all the times that it was on that you can't see the overall picture of when it was off, or vice versa, right? This person carrying these 10 wands, they can't see their steps because of the weight that they're bearing. And it's almost like you've lost a sense of direction within this connection, or even just in your daily life and personality through obsession and immersion with it, because of this feeling of what is essentially abandonment. That is how I would sum up the Five of Pentacles, right? And the fact that you can't see past it into a future. Now, in the present, there is a collaboration. This is like, this card in the reverse is like, well, what is up, what is down with this version in this deck? But I see this as being reversed. So this can be a collaboration that is temporary. So if this person has reached out to you after a period of on-off ghosting or mistreating or betraying, or perhaps even for some of you cheating on you a bunch of times, I'm not announcing that if it's you. I'm just reiterating for those who know that that's true already. Then know that this reconnection and this offer to collaborate with you is just for today, quite honestly. This person is so onesie, flighty, that I don't think they can collaborate with anybody for more than a few days. And I don't think that it would be good to invest yourself, and investment is a one thing as well, or invest your entire persona and personality into the idea of collaboration with this person. Even if they're making a really nice offer, I think there are ways to politely go, hey, I'd love to work with you, or I'd love to see you, but right now isn't good for me. Or I'm just so overburdened with other things right now, which isn't a lie, right? You are overburdened. It's just that you're overburdened mostly with them. But, you know, I can't fit it in right now is an ideal response, because I do think that it's flimsy. It's a very flighty thing. if they're saying like, hey, you know, sorry I was completely off the radar and completely abandoned you and also betrayed you a bunch of times and really hurt your feelings, but I'm back this weekend, wanna hang, wanna fuck? No. Advice from your tarot reader, no mate, soz, this isn't happening right now. Because as well, the immediate future, if it were to happen, is a 5 of Wands. So I feel that even if you did meet up with this person and try and collaborate and try and get on and try and just get back into friendly vibes maybe, you would end up bickering, you would end up fighting with each other. I just don't see it going well for you. And I think that if you are strong and you do say no, and you preserve the self, preserve the personality, the individualism of this one, then you may even feel a little bit of inner conflict rather than conflict with them. You may feel like, fuck, I've still made the wrong decision. I've turned them down, and what if I never get another chance? But honestly, my dude, with this person, with the way that it's looking, you're better off saying no. And I don't know whether this is just that they've got some growing up to do, or whether this is a permanent thing for them, but their vibe is a 7, and you don't need that sneaky shit. It's going to be your judgment call. Many of you will not listen to me. The ball is in your court at the end of the day. But if you want to hear advice from your esoteric friend and brother, don't pick up if they call. If they text, be polite but busy. And if they want to meet up, you're not free this weekend, soz. Because I think it's just going to take you into a space of disruption. And I think the fact that we've got a dynamic with somebody else who, let's face it, can't even commit to you on a great enough level or stick by you on a grand enough scale to be worthy of being intrinsic to your life. But you've got them coming up in a first house issue, so you've made them intrinsic, you've made them part of your personality, part of who you are, right? This motherfucker is rocking up in your first, and they have the fucking audacity to abandon you, to leave you out there, to betray you, to not tell you the full picture, to pull some sneaky bullshit, and then to rock up to you when they feel like it and say, hey, do you want to hang out, boo? Nah. Nope. Sorry. We're not for this on this channel. Normally, I am up for giving people a chance in almost every reading I do, at least in like a future, you know, even if it's a distant future, I'm up for everybody developing. But right here, right now, with it being a 1, this is about self-preservation. This is about you and you alone. And do you want your internal space, your sanctuary, your inner palace, to constantly be focused on somebody who's fucked you over? J is for just not doing it right now. But again, it's your call. The ball is in your court. I feel for you, Power 1, because it's a difficult decision to have to make for anybody. But I think if you lift some of these wands, and if you look at the facts, and if you look at how many times they've let you down in smaller ways, because I don't think this is just once, then I think you'll agree with me that just stepping away for a few days and saying, I prioritise myself now, and my personality doesn't have to revolve around you, that's going to be the most beneficial thing. The other thing to say about this being a 1 is that if this person has ever commented on your appearance in a way that has made you feel shit about yourself, or has indeed affected you with sexual cheating, sexual shaming, anything along those lines, in a way that has made you low-key feel crap about your body, whether or not that's what they intended, expunge a motherfucker, okay? Because the body is also first house. So for some of you, I'm seeing that this obsession, this feeling of abandonment, of rejection, extends to like working out more than you should. Maybe even like purge cycles if you hit that particular pile. I think it was earlier in this reading. It may have been the last reading. Not saying it's for everyone, but if they made you feel janky about, J's for janky, they made you feel janky about your own body, my dude, they are not for you. They are not worthy of your vibe, right? Expunge. I don't care who they are, how nice the jawline is. It's not worth it right now. Look to yourself, work on figuring out without this person in the picture what it is that makes you feel good and stable and happy and loved. Okay? Surround yourself with people that deserve to be in your palace. And then maybe they'll rock up later and they'll have grown up, who knows? Later readings will tell on that one. But right now, advice is, fuck them off. Bye-bye. Okay, if that was helpful, please like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. If you want more detail on this person, I don't think you should be looking into their thoughts, feelings and next actions, but that is available in my shop. If you want to take the better road than that and you want to do like a self-concept reading, that's available for free, or in my shop if you want an extended version. Or you could do like a mirrored souls to see what this person was here to teach you without necessarily attaching to them further. Or any other reading that I sell, like about creativity, about life purpose, about any of the things that just focus on you, boo. Because I feel like you need a bit of that self-care energy, right? And if you don't want to book with me, that's fine. If you don't want to book with me yet, but you enjoyed this and you've got a bit of spare cash and you want a tip, there is a PayPal link down below. I appreciate it because this is my sole income. And please share this playlist with a friend, see what letters they choose, what piles they get. And I hope to see you soon, pile 3. But yeah, even though it's your call, please prioritise yourself. Don't be around idiots. Yeah? Okay, we're going to get into the channeled. Pile 3 channeled. Hey, hey, hi. As I was sort of moving things around to prep for this, my D12 landed on the 12th house and I was hearing screaming and song. Sorry if this isn't your kind of music, by the way, but it just helps me get in the zone. I don't know. And I feel like this is like 12 houses to deal with, to do with adversaries, enemies, competition, frustration with other people sometimes. It's a lot bigger than that, as are all things in astrology, but if you've been feeling like there's a certain person that you're not playing well with, shall we say, this is coming out in this. And indeed, if that's true, you may want to take pile 3's reading in terms of tarot, but maybe apply it to that person and not necessarily just as a love reading. So yeah, that's for some of you who didn't come from pile 3. What else? Let's switch hands because I didn't enjoy that energy. Let's clear it up a bit. Excuse me, I'm just moving around in my noisy chair. I will get a better setup one day, I promise you. I'm seeing post, so... Oh, actually, right. Self-promo, sorry, but if you did get the 12th house vibe and you're in competition with someone, post is reminding me of Björk. I did a reading where I listened to some Björk and I did it on competition, what makes you different from the competition, rivalries, etc. That is in my channel playlist. If you want to have a look at that, it might be useful to you. Other than that, I'm getting the word post because it's on here. Some of you are postpartum, etc., in which case, congratulations. But there's like post something, post hyphen partum, post hyphen modern. So some of you are postmodern artists, etc. Please share your link, share your work in a link down below. I'd love to see it. I too am kind of an artist, but kind of not. Former artist who feels uncomfortable with the title. My ring's winking at me because she was an artist, the woman who gave me this. But anyway, but yeah, post of some kind. You may be a postie, who knows? But that's pinging off at me. Anything else about that? Some of you, it's check your post because something you've been waiting on has arrived and you've not realised because you've kind of become a bit upset about waiting for it and you've not checked. Like for those of you who have like a pigeonhole or a locked letterbox, check it, because I feel like not doing so for a few days, there's something exciting in there. And if it's just a bill or something, comment down below and you can have a go at me, I don't mind. But for some of you, it is much awaited post. Or, now, small number, right? But some of you are wanting to give a love confession to somebody or wanting to ask somebody out or like make your move regarding a connection because the ring on this finger is glowing, which can only mean one thing. And if that is true of you, and you're seeing this, send them a letter. Nobody does that right now, do they? Like, it's old school is what I was trying to say. Like, go about it old school, because it's really romantic to receive a love note. I feel like they'd appreciate it. I feel like you'd be able to get your words out in a way that can be very revised. Because even if you handwrite a thing, which by the way is more romantic, even if you have like pediatrician scrawl, it's just nice. Sorry, pediatricians. I see you. Hi. But yeah, like even if you're writing it by hand, if you draft something like a love letter on your notes app or on a computer or something first, it helps you to really crystallize what you want to say. And I feel like for some of you, if you've been really nervous about a situation or about a person, even for some of you, if you're cutting off from a connection, never mind like telling someone how you feel. This is like beginnings and endings in a big way. But whether you're confessing that you like someone or you're closing things down with somebody for good and cutting cords, equally, I feel like a handwritten letter, if you know this person's address or you can find it out by sneaky means, would be glorious, right? But do make sure it's the right address if you do that, because there's nothing worse than sending a letter that never got there, especially when it's heartfelt. I speak from experience. Okay, what else? I'm hearing plus, plus, plus. So some of you got really good exam results. Well done, congratulations. If you graduated, good on you, congrats, etc. But if not, it's like adding to, what is it? Oh right, you're being told to focus on the positives. Straight up. Sometimes spirit does not mess about with their messages, and I know it's a basic bitch spirituality thing to say. I know. Don't come at me, right? Oh, look for the bright side in every situation. Look for the silver lining. Look for the positives. And I know you want to strangle me when I say that, but that's what plus 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 is pointing to in this situation. So there's something that you're feeling particularly despondent about, and there is a silver lining. So look for it. That's all I'm going to say, because I know you're annoyed. Plus, 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 plus. There's also, like, for those of you who the letter thing hit, like, maybe part of the letter is, like, flattery. Like, you're listing, like, you think of something you like about the person that you want to say, or something that's, like, really touched you or whatever, and then you're like, and plus this thing, and also this thing, and also I like your hair, and also your eyes sparkle, and all this kind of, like, it's almost going off the rails with the pluses, and I feel like that's a good thing. And my contacts are saying, like, yeah, keep going with that, like, keep, like, leather it on. Add those pluses to each other. And I'm seeing, actually, like, I don't know whether, I think it's a Tesseract cover, but there's, like, it might be a flower of life or something like that, but there's a symbol that I'm seeing with, like, layered crosses on each other again and again and again, making this beautiful geometric thing. And I'm seeing that as, like, representative of you just, like, laying it on thick, my friend. So do it. Go for it. I'd love to know how it goes. I'd love to know the kinds of things that you say. If you're comfortable sharing in the comments, absolutely share the pluses you see in your situation or indeed in your person. And give everybody else that's watching this a boost, right? Because if they're feeling particularly crappy and they need to look at the silver lining, which no one wants to hear, then they may enjoy reading your messages of heartfelt gratitude and love. So let's do that for each other. Woo! Right, give me some more. Different energy, please. Because I was clapping then, like, I got the sound of one hand clapping in my head. So there's the, like, Zen puzzle of what is the sound of one hand clapping, what is the sound of a tree falling in the forest when there's no one to hear it. That may mean something in particular to you right now. But if not, it's just like... I'm also seeing someone give a tiny sarcastic applause or playing the sarcastic violin at somebody else. So you may have lost patience with somebody recently, or maybe, like, I feel like it's something like an educational dynamic or a sibling or something where you can feasibly take the piss a little bit and sort of go, okay, you know, I hear your violins, or well done you, or whatever. But it's that like sarcasm. I'm just getting that really strongly. But it's not to do with the prior situation, so I don't feel insecure. I'm not linking those two. The next song is Unchaining, so something about this sarcasm is unchaining your idea of whatever it is that you were taking a piss out of. It's like a mini banishing by laughter vibe. If you don't know what that is, look it up, please. What else? I'm seeing fish. Some of you may have strong Piscean correspondences, either overall or right now. Look at your transits. Is there something in Pisces or doing something to your Pisces? That makes astrology sound ruder than it is. Or not. I don't know. They're planets. They go up to what they want to do. What else? I'm looking around my room and my eye has stumbled upon the DVD of My Own Private Idaho. So for some of you, you're a Pisces and you've just watched that, or you are in a same-sex connection with a Pisces, or there's something about that like forbidden love vibe that is chiming with a Piscean thing for you. I don't know, there's a connection between... I'd love to know actually. I reckon... I've never looked, but I reckon River Phoenix would have a strong Piscean placement. I just have a feeling. So that might be it, I don't know. But there's something to do with whatever your association is of My Own Private Idaho, even just the words, if you haven't seen the film. But it is a great film, so you should. And strong Piscean stuff. Strong fishy business. Which again sounds ruder than it is. Have you been unintentionally making innuendos, Pal 3? Because I'm getting that a lot of the shit that I come out with is filth right now. What else? For those of you who are working with colour or are my colour witches from either colour readings with me, link in the comments, or like colour work with the last, I think it was like IS4, hinted about magenta somewhere and stuff. But for my colour witches anyway, the colour combinations in My Own Private Idaho are really interesting, and I'm being called to tell you to have a look. So freeze frame that bitch at any point, wherever you see fit. There'll be a line of dialogue or something you vibe with, and then you pause the screen and you look at the interactions of colour as it is at that moment in the movie. I like to do this as a reading in general, to be honest. As I said in the last one, I will be making like possible course content on magical uses of colour, and colour interactions and the weirdness of colour as a thing, and how we perceive it and what that means for magic and all sorts of stuff. But before we get to that point, sub if you're interested in that, by the way, but before we get to that, there's something about that for you that is like pausing a movie and doing, using that for colour magic, right? Or using those colours in something. I don't know, man, you do you. Let me know, right? Okay, next. This is a very casual pile, I like this. We've had a couple of easy breezy piles this time around, it's nice. And now my mind has just drifted right away from me. So perhaps you were J is for joint in the pile 1 channeled, and you're feeling pretty high right now, because I don't smoke, but I know that when you do, you can just sort of sail off like I'm doing right now. Maybe it's just the music taking me there, I don't know. But it's like, it's not often in a channeling session that my mind goes completely blank and just floats upstream for a little while. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the upstream, downstream thing. You need to look into what those terms mean in law of attraction. What's the term for the language? The meaning of the words in something. Terminology for the law of attraction community. If you know the word I'm trying to grasp at, I am very sorry, I had a stroke 5 years ago and sometimes my brain just won't get to the word, but you know what I mean, like the term for the thing. Anyway, upstream, downstream, have a look into it. Great Awakening is the song that's coming on, so that will vibe for some of you who identify with being in an awakening or an ascendancy period. I'm not sure that I vibe with that concept as it's sort of peddled in the tarot community. I feel like everybody has lots of awakenings over their life. I'm not sure I believe in a grand ascension. Certainly astrologically there are ascension climates, if you will, in space weather over periods of many years. But I'm not sure that people have like an awakening as a pinpoint moment in their life. I think we have lots of little ones and we kind of build on them from there in a very Eight of Pentacles kind of a fashion. But you may differ from me. Please share your perspectives or whatever. But yeah, you're having an awakening. I think Great Awakening is more of a broader paradigm than I would choose. But you might be having like what people identify as ascension sickness. You know, lots of crises in your life, lots of headaches, lots of weird feelings, weird dreams, out-of-body experiences, sort of empath stuff of things being too much on a sensory level, all these things kind of intersecting, in which case, hi, you're spiritually developing, excellent stuff. You may enjoy Pal too, but yeah, there's a thing. That's your message anyway. I went off on one. What else? I have a statue of a particular goddess. Should I share her name? No, okay. Let's just say she's Irish and she's very creative and she wants you to sleep better and go to a riverbank for your next thing that you're doing, your next working, your next meditation. If you're in a city, that's fine. We also have canals, right? It's kind of a riverbank in an urban way. You can maybe drop a few sigils or take a few cards or whatever you do. City magic is just as legit, by the way. Don't let anybody tell you that to be closer to magic, you have to be closer to nature, as if it's distinct from the city environment. Everything has wildlife, everything has plant life. Just be where you are, right? Be who you is. But anyway, if you are close to a riverbank and a very idyllic setting, potentially one that's in Ireland, please go there and do a working or meditation or whatever it is. Even just listening to one of my videos by a riverbank. I'd love that actually. If you go to a certain place to listen to any of my readings, like a particularly nice natural place, or if you just have a ritual around listening to tarot readings and stuff, please let me know what those are, because that's really, I don't know, that just filled me with joy to know that someone was hearing me by a riverbank or something. But yeah, she wants you to do riverbank workings. There's stuff there as well for those of you who are into land stuff, and you know what I mean by that if you are. There's stuff to do with river energy and with threshold trees and plants, and I mean in certain parts of the world you might be called to work with alder, because I'm seeing the sort of vermilion colour of the pendant there, and I'm looking at the riverbank deity, and those two things kind of intersect, because stripped alder bark, if you don't know, goes this beautiful kind of bleeding vermilion shade that's really unusual in nature. It's very vivid, and that is like a tree that can only grow in semi-watery places. So it is speaking about the relationship between the bend in the river and the land, which is what we're being pulled towards by this particular deity. But she is saying sleep better as well, right? I'm seeing the circles under her eyes, because it's a little statue, are looking paler than the circles under mine. So I've not been sleeping. You should be sleeping well, which, you know, go to bed at a regular time, please. Love you. Don't be annoyed at me. Just consider me some kind of magical mom, and you can close the door to your room afterwards, but listen to me while I'm here, all right? What else? The number 7 for some of you is important something. Let me know what. Or 777 as an angel number. I don't normally deal in those, but fair enough, you might. 777 it is. Yeah, comment what that means or what that is for you. Great stuff. And I think that brings us to the end. So, if you liked this, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell, ding the dong, thank you kindly, share with any friends you think might enjoy these A to Z readings. There is a whole playlist. If this happens to be the first one you've watched, you might enjoy the others, don't know. But they're always on something random, and they're always a new experience for me as well as for you. So yeah, I hope you come back for one of those. If you want to donate to me, this is my primary income, so I'd appreciate that. But if you don't want to, then just spread the word, you know. And I'll love you and leave you, pal 3. Take care.